Hello there. Okay, so I usually show you stitches that are my own stitches and ones that patterns that I created too, but I decided that it would be really nice for all the people who like the traditional knitting with knits and purls and the traditional stitches and would like to know how to convert them over or have some help with it. That it'd be really nice to do a few for them. So this is the first one I'm doing for you, and this is the most common one, and what it is yarn over and knit two together. And so you're going to see those sometimes in patterns that you want to convert. So I have done two pieces here for you where I have yarned over and knit two together. And on this one, I'll stretch it out so you can see what it looks like. And the reverse side, what it looks like, and it's similar, but it is different. And the reason for that is if you see a pattern that says this stitch that you yarn over and knit two together in the first row, you do it just as they said. But if the needle knitting pattern on this in the second row says, just repeat, keep doing it, that yarn over, knit two together, you have to reverse it because they've turned their work and you can't turn your loom that way. So you need to do the opposite stitches. So in that case, you'd be doing yarn over, purl two together. So this is all knits that I did. So this side will not look exactly the same, and if you look at it closely you can see it's deep here, and on this side it isn't deep, but it's still a nice stitch and still looks good. And basically all I did, this whole thing, is the yarn over, knit two together, and I just continuously did that in a flat panel. Now in this one I did the yarn over, knit together for one row and the yarn over, purl two together for the second row, and we've got it looking like this, and on this side it looks exactly the same. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how to do it. So here's how I'm doing when I see a pattern that says to do this stitch continuously, and also this stitch could be involved in a pattern with other stitches. So I'm just showing you how to do this stitch, but it could have knits and purls on either side, and then on the second row you would have to reverse the stitch. So anyway, what I've done is, because it's only two stitches and it's a repeating pattern, I've marked my pegs in groups of two. So these are marked, they're red, I know they go together, no marker in red go together, no marker in red go together, and so I've marked my loom. Now this is a 3/4 inch gauge loom, it's a Cindywood loom, 30 pegs, and I'm using a bulky yarn, and this is a nice bulky, it's about the size of Charisma. It's Mary Maxon Marvelous Chunky, and I found my label and put it back on this one because I'd lost my label, but here it is. It's called Sweet Stuff. So Sweet Stuff that I've done these two swatches. Well, this is just going to be a swatch here, but I'm going to show you how to do it. So we've got peg 1 and 2 in red right here, and then peg 1 and 2, no marker, peg 1 and 2 in red. We always are going to take peg 1, take the loop off and move it on to peg 2. Peg 1, take the loop, move it on to peg 2. Take the loop, move it on to peg 2. Take the loop, move it on to peg, whoop. There it is, like this. Gotta be careful it doesn't untangle on you, because it's an E-wrap. And move it over. There we go. Whoop, I moved it over to the wrong peg here. Okay. supposed to move it over onto the second peg. There we go. So it's E-wrap. So I'm just moving it on here. Sorry about that. I'm at a really bad angle here and my camera's slipping a bit. So just put you on pause so I can just fix that. Okay, all better. So we've moved them all over except for right here. And we just move it over. You should be able to move it over properly, especially with them marked. But yeah, I was paying attention to how my camera was slipping too much there. Okay, so now we're going to do the stitch. Now there'd be two ways you can do it. You can yarn over like this or yarn over like this. Because the stitch is so repeating and it looks different, I decided the E-wrap yarn over would work better. So just do an E-wrap stitch like that when I was yarning over, right? So we do the E-wrap and then we do a U-wrap on top of this and just knit it off. E-wrap, U-wrap, knit off the second peg. E-wrap, U-wrap, knit off the second peg. E-wrap, U-wrap, knit off the second peg. And if it's a little tight, you just put over one and then the other. And E-wrap, U-wrap, and put them over one at a time like this. And then this one, because I'm going to be using knits and purls, I needed a way to do the edge. And I thought I might as well use knits and purls. Now needle knitters will often add in pegs of extra knits and purls at the end of the work. I didn't want to because with this look it comes right into the edge and I liked the work I liked it coming right out to the edge. And also this is just a stitch video, so it's not going to be a finished project. So often they will, on the knit row, they just knit it. Now when they're reversing it, they're on the other side, so their knit is going to be a purl. So they would do a knit again, but you would do a purl. So you do a purl on the second row. And then on the second row, when we're doing this stitch, we move them over like this. So peg 1, we're moving over onto peg 2. Moving peg 1 onto peg 2. Moving peg 1 onto peg 2. So we're just doing the reverse stitches. The yarn overs are the same, and the E-wrap will be the same. So we E-wrap it because it's just our yarn over, but this would have been a knit, so now it's a purl, and we're purling 2 pegs together. For the needle knitter, they're just going continuously. They're doing knits, but we have to compensate because we can't turn our work, so we have to do a purl to do a stitch that is going to be their stitch that's continuous. So ours is now 2-row stitch. And so we just keep E-wrapping it, coming over and purling. There we go, that yarn had gotten kind of funny there. And purling. And so that's all there is to it. Row 1 we knit, row 2 we purl when we do the 2 yarns together. Oh, this is our knit 2 together is now a purl 2 together. Come on, don't twist like that. I've used this yarn a number of times and frogged it, so it's kind of funny and it catches on things. But I have a lot of this yarn, so I thought I would use it for swatches. So this way we were purling, but I knit it and then I'll purl it to go back. As long as you knit it one way and purl it the other, you're fine. And do the same thing. And then we're back to knitting, so we just move this over. Peg 1 onto peg 2, peg 1 onto peg 2, and missed knitting that over apparently. Peg 1 onto peg 2, peg 1 onto peg 2. There we go. And so that's all there is to it. There we go. I'm really having problems with my camera today, so after I do this and get the other work out to show you, I'm going to adjust it really, really well. Put you on pause and adjust it really well. But here we go. Here's what the stitch looks like. And here's what it looks like on this side, and they look exactly the same. And that's the continuous row the needle knitter would do. For us, we have to knit one and purl one. So there you go. So I'm going to show you how to do the other stitch. Let's put you on pause for a moment. Okay, here I am, and I have a different yarn here to show you this, and this is King Cole Riot Chunky yarn. It's a bulky yarn too, but it's a thinner bulky than the Mary Maxim, and it is 30% wool, 70% acrylic, and the color is Ocean. It's got some pretty ocean colors in it, so this is one of my really good yarns. I really actually like this yarn. And I have to untwist it. There we go. Put it through. And there we go. Okay, so the one I'm doing here and I'm showing you here is the same as this one, but I'm showing it to you in another yarn, because in this particular kind of yarn, this is an acrylic yarn, you tend to notice a little bit more, and you would in a shiny yarn too, that the stitches are different front and back. It stands out a lot more. On this one, here's what it looks like on this side, and here's what it looks like on that side, and they're different, but it doesn't stand out as much, and it's much easier to not have to do those purl overs or the purls to do the stitch. You can just do it all in knit and away you go. So I actually favor this one, doing it on this yarn, but the other one is really nice too. And on this one, all you do, move over your peg 1 onto peg 2, and if other stitches were involved, you'd be doing your row 1 the same. And their row 2 is opposite. So on this pattern on a needle knitters, they would have it stated that you're going to yarn over knit 2 together, and on the second row they're going to say that you yarn over purl 2 together. But we can do that as a 1 row stitch because we're not turning our work, so we can just continuously do the same stitch. So here we are, E-wrap it, and we just knit the 2 over, E-wrap the yarn over, knit the 2 over, E-wrap the yarn over, knit the 2 over, E-wrap the yarn over, knit the 2 over, E-wrap and knit, and then however we do our end. And how I've done my end here is I just cast on, I put a row of owl eye because I had to have some way to start it, but you might want to start it with knits and purls. I didn't want to use any purls in it. I wanted to see if I could get it to work without. Just a fun challenge for me. But the side, all I did was knit over and knit over to come back, and it gave me a nice tight side, and I liked that. But when I looked at my swatch, I could see it was a little bit tight because it's coming like this on the side. So I wanted a looser edge, so I decided to try knitting it the same as I was doing here, but do it much looser and see how that works. And so far that seems to be working a lot better here. Hard to say though, when it's like this, I'd have to stretch it all out. It's kind of all wrinkled up here. But I'm not going to keep this. I'm going to frog it. I'm only doing it to show you how to do these. So anyway, use any side you want. You can use knits and purls on the side, or slip it. Do a swatch and see. If it's curling, you might want to do a purl there. I'm just going to do a very loose knit over it and a loose knit coming back, because I'm only showing the stitch, so I don't really care that much. And then when we come back to do this one, we just move the yarn from peg 1 onto peg 2. And we can just E-wrap it and knit it coming back. So there row 2 said to purl. We reverse it, so we're knitting. And if they had any other stitches there, knits and purls in their on their second row, you would reverse those. So I hope this helps you in converting, and I hope it especially helps you in doing this particular stitch, because this is a very, very easy stitch to actually have lace happening. And that's a really pretty lace for doing such an easy stitch with. I'll stretch it out because you can see what it looks like. So if I used a thinner yarn, it would be looking more like that. But there you go. There's how to do this stitch. So I hope you liked the video, and I hope you have a lot of fun converting patterns, or even just doing this one, and maybe do this one and add a stitch or two in. You could add in knit 1, yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit 2 together, or you can even add in knits and purls, knit 1, purl 1 here and there, and then just mix it in, and you'll come up with some really nice patterns. It's really easy to do. And on your second row, if you can look at some other needle knit patterns and see how they look with what they do in their second row, and just reverse their second row to get that look. Okay, and so until we see you next time, bye.